Addy soldiers. It's been a bit of a rough month, everyone. I don't know if it's a lack of social interaction or the constant reiteration that we're in the middle of a worldwide apocalypse, or if it's the hormonal train wreck that is the start of my period, but I'm feeling a little down lately. It's gotten to the point where I lie on the floor and have sensory memories about what it's like to be in the outside world and drink cold brew iced coffee out of a gin bottle. Oh, you thought I was joking. And even though the blessed postman came through, like the gift of humanity that he is, and delivered me my various packages of books that I had ordered like a month earlier, I only read like 2 of them. I only read 7 books in May, which I know to some people is a lot, but to me, that's like, if you look at my track record of previous months and you saw this month, you probably would be concerned. I also dusted off my e-reader this month, so I read some physical books and some ebooks and have feelings on both of them. So without further ado, grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's do a good old May wrap-up. That should be short, but it's probably still going to be about 20 minutes long. Book number 1 is hopefully going to be brief, and that is because I reread Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Back in my April video, when I did a whole reread of some of my favorite books, I read Six of Crows and just felt so unbalanced in my life without also having read this one, so I have to say, finishing the duology was a wild ride. This book is just hit after hit after hit, and it's like, Leigh Bardugo, how do you weave so many of those schemes together? How do you keep track of them all? Like, what hell dimension do you sell your soul to be able to do that? Like, can I have their number? And again, this might just be a me thing, but I would have liked to have a little bit more romance in this series, but you know, I get why it can't happen. I did like in this book how we got to get more into Kaz's untouchable head to be able to see his own thought processes, and I did really like how at the end of Six of Crows, Inej kind of gives him a ultimatum, and I was like, hell yeah, Inej, you don't put up with any of his shit. Good job. I still love this cruise so much, and I do like the ending of this one better than Six of Crows. The only thing I would have liked more of is that Kaz and Inej be closer together in some scenes, so I could just be like, now kiss. Now that we have that out of the way, I can talk about the book that I was most excited to receive and read this month, and that is Aurora Burning by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, aka the sequel to Aurora Rising. In case you don't know, Aurora Rising is a fun space adventure with a ragtag crew that go out into space adventures and discover stuff. And this book was grimmer and funnier than the first one by far. I really enjoyed the sequel. I am all for a good space adventure. Like, hook me up for that space crew, baby! You know how a couple weeks ago I did that video about side characters who deserve their own books, and I mentioned Cal? This book was like, you want stuff about Cal? You're gonna get stuff about Cal. You're gonna get these things about Cal that you don't even think you want. You know what? Screw you and everything that you want. You're just gonna get Cal. It's only Cal from here on out. And I was like, oh my god, what's happening? Also, without giving too many spoilers, I really enjoy the new, very scary chick from Cal's past that comes into this novel a whole lot more. She is a crazy, hardcore, sociopathic murderer, but she's my sociopathic murderer, you know? Also, is it bad to ship her and the golden boy of the team? Asking for a friend. The middle part, where Aurora does the time warp for a little while, was not my favorite, but it does open up the question of how time works in this space universe, because we know that during the Fold we have some like weird time wibbly wobbly timey-wimey stuff, and I feel like that's either going to turn into a big or bad pile of time space mush in the 3rd book, and I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see how that works itself out. Also, as is wont to do from an Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff book, the ending of this made me violent. There was an extended period of time where I both yelled and cried over the ending of this. And while I have had some time to step back from it and like let it sink in, I don't feel so hostile towards this book anymore. But I am still quite upset. Now we're gonna switch genres completely and talk about a book that I featured on my Instagram, so if you ever want to go and see what I'm reading in a nice aesthetic post, you can go click the link down below. And this is the very interesting genre mash adult debut that is Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. This book is like if someone dared Veronica Roth to mash as many possible genres together in one book as she possibly could. It's a dystopian sci-fi with magic and superpowers and chosen ones, interdimensional travel and parallel worlds and zombies. I really love the overall genre, concept, and writing style that this book took on. This focuses on sort of 5, mainly one, of a group of chosen ones that saved the world a decade ago, and now that they are in their late 20s and early 30s, kind of looking back on what they saved and who they fought. It was so cool to be able to dive into the afterwards of a story and kind of go into how war trauma and PTSD and the effects of using magic at a young age were, especially when it comes to things like fame, how the public treats you, and also the guilt that's associated with doing things that may have harmed people that you knew, but still having to be and act like a hero. Plus, by following our kind of anti-heroic, unreliable, unlikable narrator, she particularly goes into how being a hero changed her as a person and how she goes into new relationships and approaches new situations due to that, and the coping mechanisms that herself and her friends now have due to this massive war when they were young. The only thing that made this book bad was the pacing. Oh my god, Veronica Roth, how could you go so wrong? The pacing was so bad that there was literally 20 pages left of the book and the climax of the plot hadn't happened yet, and I was panicking hardcore. I was like, where are you going with this, girl? And then it was like, whoop, there's the end. You're welcome. That's a book. And I had whiplash. So yeah, I am slightly disappointed with the pacing of this book, because if this had been better paced, this would have been like one of the best books of the year. Alas, I raise a drink to what could have been. Oh wow, caffeine. Next book is very tonally different from that one as well, and that is the very fun book that sort of, it embodies just a little series you may have heard of, you know, Game of Thrones, and that is House of Dragons by Jessica Cluess. This book is the teenage Game of Thrones, except if Oprah was the one running the show, because it's like, you get a dragon, everybody gets a dragon! And this follows our 5 characters who are all second siblings of royal families who are inexplicably called with their dragons to the capital to compete in a contest trial to see who will become the next ruler of the land? The country? The multiple countries? Since it should have been first children that were called, there's this mystery with that. Of course, they all have their own reasons to want or not want to be there, so I thought actually it was very well done, because most books that have large casts, it tends to be hard to keep all of those characters straight, and some of them get left to the wayside. But I felt Jessica Cluess did a really good job giving all the characters equal amounts of screen time. I did read her first books, and I like this one way better. I think her writing is great. I think there's some really nice organic character development. The priestly magic was a little underutilized and underexplained, which I would have sort of liked more of. But dragons, I mean, come on, you can't say no to a dragon, can you? I'm so happy that dragons are becoming this new thing, this new trend, because I'm like, yes, please, give me a murder monster that can fly through the sky and smelt my enemies to ash. Yes, where can I adopt? I would highly recommend this one if you like political schemes with royals that involve stabby things and dragons, really, because who doesn't love that? Alright, now we get to talk about one that I personally felt deceived on, but that is not the book's fault, that is my own fault, because I thought Scavenger the Stars by Tara Sim was going to be a space opera adventure, but oh no, my friends, this in fact is a fantasy novel that embodies a gender swap retelling of the Count of Monte Cristo. First of all, I have to give mad props to Tara Sim for giving some bangin' opening lines. Like, the first one that I really fell in love with was in chapter 8, and it goes like this. Surrounded by splendor and the empty comfort of rich, gilded things, Kao could not stop thinking about Sebastian's eyes floating like dusty cue balls in a jar on the Slum King's desk. Like, do we need literature anymore? It's great to follow the main character, Amaya, because we do see her from, like, the lowest lows to the highest highs, but we also see her pretend to be the highest highs and lowest lows because she's a manipulative con artist. She does show her softer side sometimes depending on who she's with, and that was also really nice to see. Like, she's just a really great, well-rounded character. And Kao is, like, the sweetest little sugar-filled cinnamon roll of a boy. Oh my god, I thought he was gonna be this rich, rude lordling, but instead he ends up being, like, so nice. And I'm like, wow, a nice, respectable male love interest in a YA book? Good job, Tara Sim. Like, he just loves his sister so much and would do anything for his family and just, like, wants to do the right thing, and I'm like, oh my god, where have you been all my life? I am all for extraordinarily costumed, con artist women and sweet, adorable cinnamon roll love interests. So, highly recommend if you also like that as well. Alright, now we get into the real fun stuff. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I dusted off my e-reader and started poking through the Kobo store, just looking stuff. I read 2 books this month that I have feelings towards, so let's talk about those because they are very entertaining. The first ebook that I read this month is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. That's right, sweet. So this book was pitched to me like dark fantasy, new adult in the vein of Sarah J Maas, and I was like, oh yes, that's a mood, sign me up for that. But this is the exact kind of book that makes me cringe. Ah, it's so bad! So our main character, Poppy, is this maiden chosen one, something or other with magic, who's favored by the queen. And she's always wearing a veil, and she's been raised in this palace. When she's 19, she's gonna ascend to godhood. She gets to meet gods. Maybe she gets to die. I don't know. It's really not explained, and I'm still confused. And our love interest is her guard, and oh my god, he's so dreamy. That premise I'm okay with by itself. However, they're snarky and sarcastic and just straight up rude to each other, and I know that it's supposed to be sexy, but every single one of their interactions just reads like a 13-year-old writing fan fiction between them and their favorite celebrity, but set in a medieval world. And the character development is all over the place. Like, we're told that the main character has been training with and without weapons since she was a child, and there is a scene where she disarms her captain of the guard, and then a couple scenes later, she's just screaming in a fight with one person and useless, and like he smacks her in the face, and then she's just like, oh no, this is bad. And I'm like, and a couple scenes later she's being a badass with a bow and arrow and like taking shots that a skilled assassin would be able to make and like knocking people off no problem. And I'm like, okay, I have whiplash for the second time in this video. But then also it's said that she is being abused and beaten by the duke who runs the castle that she lives in. But then it's like, you're the embodiment of the queen and religion, and why are you still there? Why can't you just stab him in the thigh and then be like, fuck this shit, I'm out, and then leave? There's literally, like, why? I still don't understand why that can't be a thing. This book needed to pick a side. Like, are you going to be the demure, quiet, needs to be saved maiden? Are you gonna be the badass warrior queen, taking names and like being sexy? You obviously didn't know, and I felt very confused reading this. Did not finish. And lastly, the book that I was probably the most disappointed on is Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moaning. Sexy dark fairies. And I was like, oh yes, please. Why has this been unread in my life so far? And after reading it, I found out why. Overall premise is not bad. It's a girl's sister goes to Ireland to study, and then she goes missing, and it ends up that she was looking into this like cursed fairy book, and then she went missing, but no one actually believes her sister because fairies aren't real, which is, I mean, I think y'all are sleeping on that. And I will say the thing that I did like about this book was that the main character is 22 and she actually acts like a 22-year-old. She's a bit vain and a bit naive, but she's also so driven to help her sister, and I was like, alright, like, I can respect that. But that's really the only thing I liked about this book. Love interest mentor is very weird, and I'm not into it. It's said at the beginning when we first meet him that he looks about 30, and he's described as looking scary and having really intense eyes. Like, I don't get love interest vibes from this guy at all, but then halfway through the book, she's like, oh my god, his jawline though, and I'm like, he's probably not human, and also maybe a serial killer. Also, the fairies are not fun in this book. I wanted cool, creepy, weird, twisty, sort of seductive fairies, and instead I got tall, skinny gray men and one strange monster that had like tentacles on it. And okay, actually there is one character, there's one fairy character that I love, and it's only because he is so ridiculous. So we get a couple little cameos from this one fairy prince, and it said that the fairy princes have an effect on humans. So one of them is that everyone feels really sad around them. One of them is that people get really happy around them. But this particular one, his like power is that he makes all the humans around him want to have sex with him. So there's like one scene where him and the main character are talking, and she's like, well, why can't you just tell me this? And he's like, well, I can't, I'm sorry. And then she like looks down, her shirt's off, and she's like, oh god damn it. She's like unconsciously stripping. And it's the funniest thing because at the end of every like scene of them together, she has to look down and be like, do I still have my pants on? Yes? Okay, great. Also, it's said that she is from Georgia and that she's a Georgia peach. So the only thing that I can think of is like, oh my, I'm in Ireland, and oh, what all these scare fairies are around. I can't even do that seriously. And the writing is so bad. It's that early 2000s. Like, I'm not like other girls. I read books. Also, I have like fantastic boobs because I can eat whatever I want and like not get fat because I have such a great metabolism. I'm so special. I mean, I got this as an ebook, and I will say that I did get $4.99 of entertainment out of it, so, but I feel like what I paid for was about equal to that value. Alright, my camera's almost out of batteries, and I'm almost out of coffee, so let's wrap this up. So there was my May wrap-up. I'm sure this video has already been a rambly mess, but I'm highly caffeinated, sort of depressed, And actually, now that I finished this video, kind of sweaty. I had some highs and lows this month, so make sure to leave your own reading in the comments. Do you have any books of mine that you want to talk about, or is there anything coming up in June that you're excited for? Because oh boy, there's so many in June that I'm excited for. My birthday's also in June, so I'm hoping for some birthday money so that I can just like acquire a large section of local chapters. I also am wearing an actual shirt for the first time in like 3 weeks because there's a random cold snap in Vancouver right now, and I'm so happy. Oh, it's wonderful to like actually wear real pants again. You know where to click to like the video, you know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!